Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Christian Recorder Dialogues. We are continuing our series with new bishops, and I'm excited to have with me the Right Reverend Henry Allen Belin III, better known as my former neighbor in Nashville, Tennessee. Bishop Belin, welcome to the Christian Recorder Dialogues today.
Thank you so much, Editor Thomas,
Well,
Editor John Thomas.
when I was a kid, like when I was a baby, I was the new baby on the block, and the three Belin kids would come over to my house and play around me and push me in the swing. I'm told. I don't remember it, but I'm told. And Bishop Belin went to college with one of my cousins, Ida Ann Brown. Well, now she's Ida Ann Hickson. Ida Ann Brown. That's right.
Hickson Brown.
So we're family, and it was one of my highlights to see one of my family elected to be the 146th bishop of the AME Church. Yes, but every journey has a beginning, Bishop Belin. So let's get to it. So what led you?
Because when I thought about you as editor of the Christian Recorder, my mind went back as a little boy to a man by the name of B.J. Nolan.
Oh, wow. Wow.
B.J. Nolan, my daddy used to go bowling all the time.
Wow.
Melrose Bowling Alley in Nashville on Friday or Saturday nights. Then a bunch of preachers used to go bowling.
Yeah.
And he was over the Christian Recorder at that time.
That's right. Nolan.
And then A. Lewis Williams.
That's right.
Him and took over.
Yeah.
So to see you over the Christian Recorder, I'm like, wow, this is deep.
Yeah. The first editor I remember is Reed. When I my dad was Reed's doctor.
Dr. Robert Reed.
Yep, that's right. I never will forget when he said, "You're John Thomas."
Read the recorder with Reed.
That's right. That's right. That's right. In fact, his great granddaughter was working with us at the General Conference. So it was a delight to have her there with us. But we are excited to have you here. So like we talked about beginnings. So your beginning, I mean, what led you to we know your story, your legacy, the AME Church through Bishop Belin, Supervisor Belin, but what led you to your journey to decide that the ministry was for you?
Not sure. I went to Vanderbilt School of Engineering. Wanted to be a doctor. Somewhere along the line, I realized I didn't necessarily want to do the doctor part. So I picked up an extra engineering major, a major in biomedical and electrical engineering. Because I love computers, I love fooling with circuits, and I love math and science. So I went to school to be an engineer. And halfway through that, I was doing well, having a conversation with my EE advisor, Dr. Ensign Johnson. Ensign Johnson, older guy, PhD in electrical engineering. And we were talking one day as we were discussing my major. He said, "Have you ever thought about going to divinity school?" I said, "For what?" I had no idea that I would be interested or think about doing it. So he told me the story that he himself was the son of a Methodist minister.
Wow.
And he had taken some of the divinity courses. He told me about a politician by the name of John J. Hooker. And Al Gore, who had come to Vanderbilt, taking some courses at Vanderbilt Seminary. I know Gore had. And he said, just go to a seminary does not mean you're going to be a preacher. It helps balance you. And he says, you are a person who does well with people. You're good with these circuits and things, but you like people. You ought to think about it. So anyway, I blew him off. And we went and still did the work for the engineering degree. Then somewhere along the line, my senior year, we got another conversation. I said, well, let's just see. So I set up with the career placement office a interview with the divinity school dean and the business school dean. So the business school was set up for Friday and the divinity school was set up for Wednesday. So I went to interview and met with the dean of the divinity school. And because I was an engineering student, I did not have all the quote unquote written courses that were necessary to get admitted. So I guess the interview must have went well because the dean, after looking at my grades and when I'd done engineering, he said, tell you what, if you want to come based on this interview, I'll give you a 65% tuition scholarship.
Wow.
And he said, if your grades are, good enough after the first semester, I'll increase it to 85%. I said, whoa, for real? So I went back to the athletic department and met with Mr. Roy Kramer, who was the director of athletics. And he and I had a good relationship. He later became the commissioner for the SEC. And we talked. And Mr. Kramer said, well, Henry, I want you to go to sports management school. You and I had talked about some things, and, at a couple of schools you can do this. But if the divinity school is where you want to go, I'll give you a job in the athletic department, and I'll pay the rest of it.
Wow.
I was like, whoa. So I thought, I said, well, God must be speaking. So I went back, hoping that the divinity school dean would let me do a double major in business. At that time, you could double major with a JD, but no one believed you could do a business. So he didn't agree to it. I thought I could convince him, but I didn't. So that's how I got my start.
Wow. So when did you decide that you wanted to pastor?
After that first year, seminary.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I started utilizing my people skills. I was a assistant at my local church with Dr. Harry L. Wilson at Greater Bethel Amy Church. And then later on, Reverend Clement Few came. And they gave me a lot of work to do in the church. And used to go and take communion, used to volunteer this program called Room in the Inn that started in Nashville.
Yep.
So a lot of my fraternity brothers from Omega Psi Phi fraternity would come, and we would go and spend the night once a week with the homeless, and feed them dinner and also breakfast the next morning. So there are a lot of ministry opportunities. And I said, this is me.
Wow. When I was a kid in Nashville, I was actually a junior innkeeper with St. John. They wouldn't let me stay by myself with them, but I would stay over with our lay organization when I was in high school. And I would see, as long as there was an older gentleman, as long as one of the adults was there, I would stay with them as well. In fact, whenever I'm back home and I'm home for a weekend in the winter, I try to help out with the program. We're still participating in it.
It's a great program.
Yeah. So you've had a unique ministerial career that's taken you across continents. So would you mind sharing with us your pastorates and the people you've served?
So when I left seminary, I was offered an opportunity by Bishop John Bryant, at the time was the bishop of the 14th Episcopal District, to go to his district because there was a couple of conferences that wanted persons to come and offer assistance. And at first I thought I was going to Liberia. That was during the time when Charles Taylor began to start the war. So he knew of a pastor from Zion Elder in Nigeria, and who had been trying to build a church for a while and wanted someone to come and work with him. So that's what happened. He sent me to Ile-Ife, Nigeria, which is the home of the Yorubas, the Yoruba tribe. There's a university right there called Obafemi Awolowo University. And so it was a college town, a lot of students there. So I went there and I stayed in a hostel, worked with the family of the presiding elder Fanahan and his family, who had a school and a WIAC school, which is West African Educational Consulting Groups. There's a standardized test that West Africans had to take, and so he had a business and made sure they administered that test.
Wow.
So went there and met some wonderful people. I took a couple of courses at the university just so I could, keep my mind sharp. Went and trained with some of the guys who played the basketball team there so I could stay in shape. And I met a lot of people who were from it was a Christian fellowship. It's called the ECU, I think Evangelical Christian Union, which was based on the university, but it was a countrywide organization. So they were born again Christians, and we met and we talked and we hit it off, and I started inviting them to come, to work with me, the church, and so they did, and we shared together back and forth. I would come visit them. Some would come and visit me and give me insights as to what was culturally appropriate, how to relate best to the people, making sure I did not come in a patriarchal mode. So I had very good friends, very good teachers. I call them teachers. I mean, we were same age, and I learned a whole lot. So that church grew. The church still going today. Some 30 plus years later, we were able to raise some funds here. I thank the missionaries. At that time, Ms. Dolores Kennedy Williams was the president. They helped sponsor missionaries in residence. I was one of their first. So they gave me, funds to help sustain me while I was there. Bishop John Adams and Dr. Dolly Adams gave us a huge donation, about $5,000, which was a lot of time, to help really start the building project. So we start raising the funds, and within a year and a half, we had erected, with the people there, the first AME church building ever erected in the country of Nigeria.
Wow.
It's called Christ Love AME Church.
Wow.
And, beautiful place. I was proud of the people. And as I said, 30 years later, the church is still there. A young man by the name of Reverend Remy joined the church under me. And I performed he and his wife's wedding ceremony years ago. He's the pastor there today.
Wow.
So, that makes me feel pretty good.
Good. So from there, you ended up where next?
Left Nigeria and came to Providence, Rhode Island. Allen AME Church at 163 Bellevue Avenue, Providence, Rhode Island. And it was a strange place. Providence is a very strong Italian town. Has a lot of universities, Brown University, Rhode Island College, Bryant College, Providence College, Johnson C. Wales. So a lot of schools. University of Rhode Island is a few miles, away. So it likewise was a college town. And I was fortunate enough to have a chaplain by the name of Deborah Blanks, who was assistant chaplain.
Wow.
Who was assistant chaplain. She had been an Army chaplain, but she was also assistant chaplain at Brown University. So she came and assisted me. And I was a single pastor at the time, so she helped work with the women's ministry. And we made a great team. I also got to serve as the Protestant chaplain at the Providence College basketball team. One of my members was a basketball coach, and he hooked us up with the team at Providence College. At that year, they went to the Elite Eight.
Wow.
And I served as Protestant chaplain because a lot of the African American players were not Catholic.
That's right.
So I give the priest credit. He was not trying to force them into Catholicism. He wanted to make sure they express their faith.
Wow.
So he agreed and invited me to come and share, and I would do the quote unquote mass for the team at the time.
Dean Blanks was the chaplain assistant chaplain when I was at Princeton, 2007. So she was, by that point, she was at Princeton. Right, she was part of my spiritual formation when I was in New Jersey.
A brilliant person.
And now she's the pastor of
St. James
Atlantic City. That's right.
The number one church in that district.
That's right.
She's powerful.
Yeah. Hi, Dean Blanks. So so from Rhode Island to
Rhode Island, went to Brooklyn, New York. And I didn't want to leave Rhode Island. I had a good time in Rhode Island. Was there for 4 years on the state ethics commission.
Oh wow!
Youngest person ever put there. We renovated the church. We bought a lot of property around the area. But went to Brooklyn, New York, to a church called People's Institutional, where their favorite motto is "Ain't no people like people's people."
Ain't no people like people's people.
And we enjoyed them. Great people. I followed a very energetic couple. who had done a good job of bringing young adults in. So it was mostly a young adult church. There were older persons there as well. But I went and built upon that foundation, and church just grew, took off. Nice. At one time we had a choir of like 30 kids.
Wow.
That just traveled and sang. The neighborhood was ours, and it was a beautiful church, beautiful people. I still have great relationships years from removed.
And from Brooklyn to
the first African Methodist Episcopal Church Bethel of Harlem, New York. Church where Bishop Richard Allen and Bishop James Varick fell out with each other. Because, Bishop Allen and Bishop Varick had this gentleman's agreement about where they were going to split territory. If you know, the AMEs had South Carolina, AME Zions had North Carolina. The AMEs had the Philadelphia, Delaware corridor. The AMEZs was supposed to have the New York toward New England corridor. So it was a gentleman's agreement. They're going to observe these kind of boundaries as it is. But Richard Allen, as wise as he was, in 1819 sent a lay preacher, not a pastor, but a lay preacher. So you're going to just start a prayer meeting, in New York City. And that prayer meeting became the first AME Bethel Church.
Wow.
And, they fell out over it.
Yeah. And I tell my AME Zion friends, some of them, I remember some of them know the history, and some of them like, oh, so that's why but you've done a lot of work at that church, and you're technically still there, because I know there's some things you're wrapping up before you transition out. So what is the legacy you're leaving at your final pastorate?
Ooh. To be able to stay as an African Methodist Episcopal Church itinerant pastor, be able to stay in one place 23 years.
That's a legacy right there. Yes.
The people are great. They love their church. They love God.
Yes.
And they love each other.
Yes.
And that's the thing that keeps that church going.
Yeah. And I've spent my fair share of time in First Bethel, and I've come to know a lot of people at that church.
They love each other. It's the culture.
Yeah.
Of loving and sharing, and they're very good at serving the community.
Yes.
Our health ministry is one of the top, in the city. When the COVID situation happened, we were up and running already because we were heavily involved in HIV and AIDS testing. So to switch and add to, not really switch, but add to COVID testing was right up our alley. And, they've done well. They always had a lot of programs with young people. So the church is great, strong, recognized in the community. Bishop Richard Allen Hildebrand was the pastor there. He was not elected from there, but he was a pastor there for 15, 16 years. While he was there, he was the president of the NAACP.
Wow.
Yeah. And he was a contemporary of Adam Clayton Powell Jr. at the time. So he led a protest movement for a strike against the Harlem Hospital because they were mistreating the Harlem Hospital workers.
Wow. So
he went, the story goes, he lays down in the middle of the street, stop traffic to assist in protest the wages, a lack of wages that the Harlem Hospital workers were receiving.
Wow.
So NAACP has had strong roots there. One of the longest serving presidents of the New York branch, which is the oldest branch in the country, Dr. Annie B. Martin, who was a chemist. She served on the national board of NAACP, but she was a trustee of First Bethel Church.
Wow.
And a lot of her serve. I currently serve as the second vice president of that same branch. So we've got a lot of history there. And it's a great church, great community, great people.
So when will your last Sunday be at First Bethel?
My last Sunday will be when Bishop Green tells me my last Sunday. he asked me to finish a couple things, which I'm doing as instructed.
Okay.
Because I'm a bishop, but he's the bishop
of the church.
So,
Got you. So talking about bishops, so I mean, you are the son of Henry Allen Belin Jr., but everyone makes their own journey, and you clearly have followed your own calling. So what led you, when did you realize that you were called to the episcopacy?
sometime seriously in the past year, I think everyone in whatever field of endeavor you serve thinks about or may cross your mind about how do you utilize your gifts on a larger scale, or how you can rise, in your particular field.
Mm-hmm.
So those are natural thoughts. So I never thought about it because I really enjoy the pastor. I enjoy dealing with people.
Yeah.
And I'm happy. I love the community in which I serve. I was being Pastor Bethel, also chair of the food bank city in New York.
I mean, you're basically with the mayor of Harlem.
It's the largest food bank in the country.
Yeah.
So a lot of things. So I was content. I think seeing some of the things that our church has gone through in the past, few years since the General Conference of 2021, listening to different persons talk, as I have sat and had conversations with persons who really care and love this church, said maybe if I could use my gifts at another level to see if the church would have me, I would try. And prayed about it, prayed hard about it, talked to my family, and here we are.
So you've been assigned to the 15th Episcopal District, ironically, the district that your father superintended many years ago. So what's it like, in a sense, coming back home, and what impact do you hope to make? When you come to the General Conference of 2028, what do you want to be said about the administration of Bishop Henry Allen Belin III?
That well, first, it is deep and it's a little surreal that I'm going to a district where exactly 40 years prior, my father served. And technically, he is the first bishop to serve in that reconstituted 15th Episcopal District. For it was in 1984 that the 15th was split into two districts, the 15th and 19th. So he was the first bishop to have that new constitution of what the 15th is today. And to go there, and as I presided over the past 7 annual conferences, to hear different stories of those who remember my father. Matter of fact, one of the conferences that I presided over, a person brought me a couple of souvenirs and a program from 39 or 40 years ago that had my father's name on it as the bishop, and some brought me pictures of him. And so it was interesting to see that. What is it I hope to leave? Hope to leave a people who, it's like in my church, love each other.
Wow.
Care for one another.
Wow.
And show determination and strength through their differences. And the reason I say that, 15th District encompasses 3 countries. Angola, people speak mostly Portuguese. Namibia, where they speak English and some Nama. And then South Africa, which has its own regions. You have the Xhosa speaking people, you have the Swana speaking people, you have the Afrikaans speaking people, some Sotho, and English. So all of them come from quote unquote different cultural practices, but all of them love Jesus. And the beautiful thing I've already seen, they love each other.
Wow.
So I want to see a district that comes together, and regardless of the town that you were born in or the area you're born in, that you see yourself as a part of the family of the 15th Episcopal District, and you're going to support one another so that the kingdom of God is going to grow in that region, that area.
Wow. Family. So this is a good place for us to end up. So, you are a family. So tell us about Supervisor Belin. We will have her on at a later date, but tell us about Supervisor Rita Sinkfield Belin and the 3 Belin boys.
Supervisor Rita Sinkfield Belin is one and only.
Yes.
She's a Brilliant lady who has a very deep passion for God and things that are spiritual. She is a prayer partner. Um, I can tell if I did a sermon decent because she'll come home, she'll leave the bulletin on the counter with all the notes about, the points of the sermon and things. But she's always encouraging. Wonderful mother. She's raised 3 young men who are all doing well. So I'm very blessed to have her as a partner in life, a partner in ministry for over 25 years.
And she is
on the 28th of August.
Wow.
On the day of our consecration was our 25th wedding anniversary.
Wow.
We had other plans when we got married, what we were going to do at 25 at General Conference, but
nonetheless. Wow. Tell us about the 3 Belin boys.
3 Belin boys. I have Henry IV, who is a junior at Duke University. I have twins Richard and Blake. Richard is older by 10 minutes. He will let his brother know. They are seniors in high school, looking to graduate very soon. And just this very day, they both signed their national letters of intent to go to college.
Okay.
Richard is going to go to Syracuse University.
Wow.
And Blake is going to go to Georgia Tech.
All right.
Yep.
So you got an Orangeman, you got B, and Duke. Well, Duke is Duke. We're gonna leave. Duke. And the basketball. I still have gripes with them about basketball, but nonetheless. But Bishop, I know you've been crisscrossing the world to get here and back, and we just want to take this time to thank you for being here with us. And any final words for the Connectional Church, because you've been in leadership all of my time on the General Board. You were one of the ones that helped steer the ship. So it's nice to see you now as a captain in your own right, steering the connection. So what are some final words, some things you want the connection to know about what episcopacy they can expect from Bishop Henry Allen Belin III, number 146?
I'm just going to be me. I can only be who I am. And I'm going to work together with people on all levels. I work with lay people, work with clergy, work with residing elders, work with bishops for sure, so that all of us can utilize the collective ideas, thoughts, and processes to help strengthen this kingdom, this corner of the kingdom that God has given us called the African Methodist Episcopal Church. Just because, quote unquote, I'm a bishop does not mean that my knowledge is superior to anyone else's.
Wow.
All of us have knowledge. All of us have gifts. All of us have talents. And we've got to be sure about who we are and not be afraid to utilize the strengths of others where you may be weak yourself. So, yeah, I'm going to work with everyone. That's why, my thing was building bridges.
Building bridges with Belin.
We're going to build bridges together. It's going to work.
We are building bridges. Well, I'm not going to sing the rest of the song because we would need my colleague, the publisher, to help out with that. Sure. But nonetheless, we thank you for being here with us, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Well, thank you, Bishop. We're glad to have you. And to the audience, we're going to see you next time on the Christian Recorder Dialogues.
It's just like my children one day, they're going to say the editor was John Thomas. Like I said, B.J. Nolan, they're going to John Thomas.
Well, I will hope to be in such distinguished company. Thank you all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Appreciate it.